Hello, the John Sitton Football Uncensored podcast with me, Joe Mealing, asking the questions. John, how's it going?
All good, Joe. Yeah, not too bad.
Sweet.
Not too bad. Yeah,
sweet.
Yeah, can't complain. Yeah, it was good. Good weekend's football, and not too bad a week at work as well. So
things are on the up in terms of the green badge. Yeah, a bit busier.
I do hope you're right. Yeah.
Good.
I do hope you're right. There tends to be there seem to be a few people coming back to us, and a few people realising, the other mob what's going on. The penny's finally dropped. It's only taken 9 years, but the good ones amongst us. We've been trying to make people aware of the goings on for ages now, and finally the penny's dropped.
Yeah. I read some of your tweets over the weekend, and I was in London on Sunday, and it rang true with what I saw. People staring at their phone, and the surge price has gone mad, and all of a sudden a cab drives past with a light on, and Bob's your uncle. So it's just good. Like you say, the trade never dies, does it? Really, and it's always been profitable, and it's showing. It's showing.
I just think it's a true reflection, or a true insight into the future of what the future would be, basically, in London or any other city, any other magnificent city in the UK, serviced by formerly by black cabs, if they had been allowed to get a foothold and get the monopoly. Yeah. Because that would have been, and I don't quite see the argument in the reading the financial page today. I can't for the life of me see how it correlates. The Uber prices have surged as a consequence of not having enough drivers. I don't get that. You know what I mean? People used to complain about not being able to get a black cab. Then I'd come along. It don't mean I could charge double just because I've come along. I don't know how the two correlates. Just because supposed shortage of drivers, and you got price surge. But anyway, the bottom line is it's been going on for years, and we've been saying it. This is the future. This is your future in London transport, run by TfL and whoever the mayor is in situ at the time. This is your future. This is what you've got to look forward to. So they're either trying to bully people, take away freedom of choice, like they've done with the roads very quickly, without getting too political. Although it is cab talk as well as football talk, but they're trying to bully you back onto London transport, ergo the bus and the tube, because they had a 5.968 billion loss pre-COVID, which has gone up to around about the 13 billion pounds mark if you include COVID. Then it's another 1.9 billion a year UK taxpayers bailout, not a government bailout, a UK taxpayers bailout. So they're trying to bully people back onto the buses and tubes. And if you don't use them, they want you to use one of the firm that they've over licensed in terms of minicab operators and minicabs to try and bring in revenue, which has led to an 86% increase in minicabs on London's roads, which, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, my blue collar working class opinion, is a bit of a contradiction with regards to the green issue.
The green issue,
But there we are. It goes.
Well, yeah. I mean, we should do
price surges, Joe. Price surges are not uncommon. If you look at their track record with regards to the London Bridge tax and Borough Market, where black cabs were taking people out of the danger area, in inverted commas, the danger zone. The Westminster Bridge tax, black cabs were taking people out of the danger zone. The Putney Bridge attempted bombing. Black cabs were taking people out of the danger zone, all free of charge, because that's what we're about. Yeah. Uber charged 3.75 times the normal rate. You know what I mean? So it's a little insight. So anyway, look, the penny. I don't know if I said it on the podcast, and I was telling people in the back. I don't think I got a chance to tell you. There was one of my followers, a female anyway. She was quoted £87 to go back to Streatham after partying in the West End. I said, "Don't worry, I'll come and get you. I'm not far from where you are." I went and got her. I think it ran 34.60.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was with a bit of traffic. So it probably would have been around about the 29, 30 quid mark, 32 quid. But with a bit of traffic, it ran 34.60. She was quoted £87.
Well,
this is... Yeah. You know the other reason. Yeah, you know the other reason. Very quickly for our listeners, what they're trying to do is recoup their losses. because of the multi-billion-dollar losses they've incurred because of subsidised fares. And the UK taxpayer inadvertently is subsidising fares along with investors up to 51%. Mm-hmm. Well, them days are over. Now you're going to get a true reflection of what the fare really runs. And then if they can nip you for an extra 60 quid, they will do.
Yeah. Well, I think, that the old game was to try and get the monopoly and then raise prices. They haven't achieved the monopoly and yet they're still trying to raise prices. But yeah, it's I think we said before on previous podcasts, the black cab trade, the oldest taxi trade in the world, it's never had to be subsidised. It's always been sustainable as a business, and it remains to be the case. And pretenders come and go, and
they do. Yeah.
And it's like you said about the terrorist attacks. It's been used and could be seen as, was it the 5th emergency service or whatever the number is in terms of the next emergency service, and another mode of transport in the public transport system. But it's never been treated as such, and it should be.
In my cab, you're actually in my office. You know what I mean? So when I get a chance to collar an official out of the House, Lords or Parliament, or I'll get a chance to get one of the higher ups out of the GLA, or I'll get someone who introduces himself as such and such from the Institute of Directors. Once I've finished with them, they tend to look down and go red. I mean, I was invited on his show on Talk Radio, James Well, long time before he became ill again, and he wouldn't let me get a word in edgeways. But I'm still waiting for someone better educated than me, supposedly, with I've got a degree, I've got a PhD idea of making a small road system smaller. I'm willing to be educated, but I'm still waiting for someone to tell me the upside of what's gone on, other than some of the higher ups receiving brown envelopes or briefcases full of money.
Well, they don't teach it in schools, John, and people are frightened of working class, people that are confident. That's my view, and so they don't understand it. They're a bit scared by it in terms of the black cab trade, and they don't get taught that in unis. They get taught about buses and trains and cars and scooters and electric.
And inevitably, so those of us who are at the coalface never get invited on board, which again I don't understand.
Well, because they don't understand and they don't want to be shown up.
No, that's right.
That's the thing. So, and they can divide and rule, because unfortunately it's difficult to unionize the trade and to get the trade all saying the same thing. So it's kind of divide and rule.
It's always been fragmented,
Always been fragmented, but it's slowly catchy monkey.
Hopefully, the penny's dropped and it'll start coming back.
Yeah, I mean, last thing I'll say on it, if Uber would, they won't succeed, but something else will come along and take their place. So I do think things need to change slightly in the black cab trade, but it won't take a lot. Won't take a lot. It really won't. And it probably will be just coming together a little bit more.
I should have been listened 2 years ago. First of all, within 6 weeks of being in the trade, I'd sussed it out how fragmented it was and wanted. I actually rang the LTDA and they weren't really interested about my ideas.
No.
But then latter day, I'm a great believer in, if we can blow them out of the water and if it's sort of viable for the driver, do something along the lines of, even give it a name, fair fixed price. To blow the competition out of the water, because without a shadow of a doubt, the jobs they were doing are not a true reflection. And I think you'll find that the shortage of drivers is down to the exploitation of their previous drivers, who might have done something on top of driving a London bus, or on top of working in the family business or a supermarket or a chicken shop. And then they've gone, because inevitably it's for the unemployable or part-time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not, whereas we're a full-time profession.
Yeah.
With full, and it's like I said to a 5-follower troll over the weekend, he said about being, I said, well, you obviously ain't done your own work with regards to them being cheaper. 51% of the fares subsidised, which has been blown out of the water. They're having the arse sued off of them in the United States because of the IPO was an initial $95. I think you'll find what happens is the top Johnnies cash out straight away. They've walked away with their multi-millions, but then investors say, well, yeah, exactly that. So me and you might have been like in a gentleman's club in Pall Mall, and they said, hey, you want to jump on board, get on board with this. They're doing the IPO next Tuesday. So we ring our stockbroker. The next thing you know, within 48 hours, it's down to $65. Then within a couple of months, maybe the first quarter, it's down to $28.20 or $26.80. So we've been fucking cut to smithereens, you know what I mean? But when you're talking in terms of the vehicle, people just people like this five follower troll, just getting everyone out in the black cab trade. I said my piece, and then you leave it to lie. You know what I mean? Preferably block the geezer, but 13,000 found not to have the appropriate DBS, which is
pizza menus.
Disclosure and barring service. You had 3 tabloids caught, X amount of thousand who hadn't had the appropriate medical, whereby they went and saw a couple of doctors in Tower Hamlets and Newham, and they were just taking 50 quid, stamping their thing, giving it to them without even taking their blood pressure. Into the thousands again, people who cancelled their insurance after a month. So no third party liability, where anyone in the back of our cabs insured up to the value of 10 million, God forbid we get a prang. Obviously no topographical knowledge of London. You saw the things on the A13 last night where they were just driving through and the police were pulling them over, and they said, what you're doing, we've shut the road because of an accident. And they said, well, the sat-nav's told me to come down here. So no viable alternative with regards to having the topographical knowledge of London, like sat-nav reliant. Then you had the Transport Office Command Unit, the last purge, they got caught with drugs and machetes and baseball bats and all sorts of stuff. So, but fundamentally drugs and weapons, you know, quite benefit dependent workforce. The company they work for, what's it knocking on the door of now? Nearly 3 billion in unpaid VAT. What's he going to do? Sunak. You know what I mean? He'll basically tax our children and our grandchildren to pay for that. So yeah, again, it's a case of another American corporation ripping the country off and using it as an ATM. Paid the equivalent of 1.74% corporation tax instead of 19%. Do you know what I mean? On and on and on the list goes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But there's no upside. So what happens is one of the officials in the back, they just fucking go red and look down. I'd like to get hold of someone like him, Osborne. Do you know what I mean? I would fucking cut him to ribbons. That's if I didn't give him the flat of my hand for being like lobbying for BlackRock. We've got $500 million tied up in Uber. What's he been on? 13 grand a week retainer for how long? You know what I mean? It stinks to high heaven. And you've only got to look at the track record of Cameron. You know what I mean? The baby who threw his dummy out the pram because he lost a Brexit thing. You know what I mean? You don't want Muppets like that as a leader because they're weak. They're lily-livered, hand-wringing, self-righteous pseudo-intellectuals. You know what I mean? Who have had a privileged life. Yeah, I mean, you look at his track record with Greensill, you know for sure they've lobbied on behalf of Uber. And they got on his case, Johnson, who basically was I don't know why anyone's surprised that he's an incompetent prime minister, because he was incompetent as London mayor. London mayor did, all that did was raise his profile.
The evidence was there.
Yeah, of course it was.
Yeah.
They'll make the same mistake again. He'll probably end up in as a peer in the House of Lords. He'll get his 300 quid a day. Can't. Even though it's been another clusterfuck. You know what I mean? Yeah. He'll end up MP for Tooting because of the demographics.
Yeah.
Labour MP for Tooting. Wait and see.
You heard it here first. Right, let's move on to the football.
Not a lot to talk about, especially Arsenal.
No, exactly. Well, that's what I think that'll be the first port of call. But really good weekend, long weekend, and obviously exciting with the transfers as well, which we'll touch on, particularly goings on at Man United.
Yeah. Honestly, I swear I didn't know, because they're my tip for the title. I swear I didn't know.
Yeah, well, I want to ask you about it because everyone's saying it's going to be the best thing since sliced bread. I'm not so sure, so I want to get your opinion on it. But before we go on to that, I think the first thing we should talk about is Man City's drubbing of Arsenal, which was the first game on Saturday. I mean, I suppose it wasn't unexpected. Another 5-0 for Man City, but the same score they beat Norwich by. But nonetheless, it's I don't know about you, but it's hard, and probably more so you, hard to see a team like Arsenal, historically never been relegated from the top division, just come across so weak and embarrassing, really.
Yeah, it was.
Something's rotten there. Look,
Joe, I think if people go back through our podcast, I think we've been We've tried to be lively. We've tried to be entertaining. We've tried to be interactive with questions we've taken. We've had a bit of banter between us. But one of the things we said quite a long time ago was about the toxicity and a bit of a smell coming off the pond at Arsenal.
Yeah.
And I think you'll find that we more or less predicted all of this. I actually went to work Saturday, so I missed match of the day. I don't subscribe, so I didn't see it live. It was something like 12:30 kickoff. So like I've said before, I won't put Reddy's. There's no Nelson's going in there thing for me because they're basically for a number of reasons anyway. So I don't subscribe, and then I missed match of the day, the first one because, like I said, I was working, and then match of the day 2. I was all right. I come home, I had to just sort of come round because I was in the sort of condition after the barbecue around my oldest daughters and the gathering of all the family, you know what I mean? So I might have overindulged a bit, but I managed to watch it. But it was good. The delay was good. I put it on Twitter. I was glad I had the delay, and I'll explain why. I wanted to see, I actually saw on a few news bulletins Arteta's post-match debrief and his post-match interview, and I wanted to see whether what he said correlates with what was happening on the football field. And I made him right, although so he didn't really. There was no revelations with regards to lackadaisical, paraphrasing slightly, but I'll insert some of my own stuff. Nothing explosive, lackadaisical, closing down. He remarked about, well, if you don't stop the cross, you're going to have problems. So if you don't, there are going to be occasions like, they've signed a player, Ronaldo, he's renowned, Rick, where he could do like have a little shimmy, a step over, get half a yard and whip a great ball in. Well, then it's like I always said to my defenders that I coach, you play to the absolute maximum all the time in the hope that your best is going to be good enough and it's going to deal with the threat, but then always expect the worst. So you're taking on board like what you're talking to the fullbacks about, getting in their faces, getting within blocking distance, explosive, and then slowing down on your approach so he don't sidestep you. But then your centre backs have got, and your furthest fullback and maybe a recovering midfield player, you've got to expect the cross to come in, and you've got to be prepared to defend in the box better than they did. And I just thought it was far, 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 far too easy for Manchester City. I was quite generous to Arsenal because I predicted the day before. I said I was listening to Fool's panel on H&J, Hawksby and Jacobs on. I know Andy quite well from previous thing at BBC. When we had a show for a year there, way back when, and so having met them, I make a point of listening to their shows when I can, and they were predicting things 2-0, 3-1, this sort of carry on. I said, no, I just think maybe what I said in the last podcast, it could be one extreme or the other, but I fancied the other extreme. I said it could be where Arsenal season starts to get going and they maybe nick a point and put in a good performance, or it could be an hammering, and I predicted 4-0. So it was actually 5, but so I weren't too far out. I thought they were shocking, absolutely disgraceful. And it goes back to a number of things. One is I just think there's too many are not Arsenal standard, Joe.
No, and one of, I mean, obviously, I don't know if it's got Arteta out of jail because they went down to 10 men after 35 minutes. Granit Xhaka got sent off, and maybe you can point to the fact, we had 10 men against Man City at home, it's always going to be difficult. But I think it's obvious that they were probably going to get a result against them like they did anyway, regardless of Granit Xhaka getting sent off. But one question I want to ask you about Granit Xhaka: how many times has a player got to let you down as a manager before you bin him off? Why does he still play when time after time after time he makes stupid decisions and costs Arsenal, points?
I've been both. I've been a player that's made a stupid decision when I went after an Arsenal player in the football combination when I was at Chelsea. Any player would have done, so I got spat at, and it happened to be Paul Davis who never spat at me, but I got slaughtered by Brian Eastick, the reserve team manager, coach. I got slaughtered by Jeff Hurst and Bobby Gould for letting the team down, although we managed to hang on and win 1-0 when I got sent off early in the second half. And then again at Leyton Orient, I got sent off 3 times in 4 weeks. And then I had, there was another one. I'm just trying to think of it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But the bottom line is I've seen both sides of that coin. In answer to your question, I'll say twice. I'd say you give him a stern warning the first time. And then if he does it again, you maybe give him the benefit of the doubt and just say, look, I've warned you before. And this is your second and final warning. If it happens again, we're going to have a problem. I bet you keep the problem to yourself. What the problem might be, that problem might be circulating other clubs to sell him. It might be, because I was seen as a troublemaker at Chelsea anyway. So that's what happened to me. When you speak up about things like the training regime, we've scratched the surface of this before, but I want you to be full of life and effervescent and think about football, think about the game, think about your own game, think about your teammates, think about the strategy, offer your opinion, be a leader, be vocal on the field, but not have a personality when you come off it. Or maybe it's just the way I worded things. But where he's concerned, Zachary's done it too many times. And it was a sending off. Well, yeah, endangered the opponent. You know what I mean? I just think it's a way of, it's all very well saying, yeah, I'm angry, I'm annoyed. We've got to do something to turn the tide. We've got to do something to try and claw our way back into the game. We've got to start getting for Arsenal sides have always done that. I played against every Arsenal side at every level. They've always done that, but they've done it in almost like a gentlemanly, efficient manner. It's like I've said before, Joe, on here, the best assassins are the ones who smile. Yeah. And I said a bit in my book about it because it was Arsenal when I did it. And he said about getting letters off for Terry Neal. And I just thought, fucking, who do they think they are? They forget that I watched for 10, 11, 12, 13 years from the North Bank, you know what I mean? Where tackles going in were like, if they'd been on the street, they'd have been GBH. Yeah. They'd have embarrassed Bruce Lee, some of them. You know what I mean? So that's part of the hypocrisy, the duplicity and hypocrisy of football and the double standards in football. But they've always been out to handle. I'm looking at the thing with regards to when the ball come into the box, even if they were going to get beat, the likes of Adams, Campbell, maybe Keown, definitely Bold. You know what I mean? Where if they find themselves under the ball, they'd have done more to get against the guy so that it wouldn't have been such a clean contact and a clean header. Apart from the fact that I thought they started too deep anyway. They don't look like they've been drilled at all. It don't look like there's any attempt. I mean, I might be 100% totally wrong because no one knows what goes on behind closed doors, although it did leak out that he never used to work on it at all, Wenger. It came via the likes of Steve Bold telling his ex-teammates and mates and other people that were in and around the club that he never used to do the things like that. I expected something a bit different because I see the similarities, Arteta, and I've been trying to stick up for him. You've got like Carl was once upon a time, like a young coach with aspirations, a fairly well thought of, maybe admired coach who I've had coaches actually say that along with someone else, and that actually went on to have a fair stint at somewhere like Leyton Orient. They said, like me and another guy, they only 2 people that they'd ever learned anything off of. This was another coach. So when you actually influence other coaches, that's good because you're basically imparting your knowledge and you're trying to help people, and it shows that you think about the game. But anyway, I saw the similarities. So like you've got like a highly thought of young coach, aspiring young coach, earn himself a good reputation, like I was. Played for a club like I did, had maybe a sentimental attachment once upon a time, like I did. Maybe blinded by a little bit by arrogance and ambition, like I was. Thinking, I can do that. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
the regime. It's no coincidence that I think Man United are now something like 8 years down the line since they last won the title under Ferguson, something like 2013, and then a long time before that, Arsenal. Right, so it's no coincidence. For all these years, well over a decade, probably well into the second decade since Arsenal last won a Premier League title. The fact that both men had total control of the club. because
Yeah.
then when they leave and the people around them leave, it leaves an abyss. It leaves
like
just
chasm,
like you understand what I mean, Joe?
Yeah, totally.
So you've got, so then you've got like the appointments that I think have been made wrongly. I mean, it's imperative that you make the right appointments, and then I think you either go one or two ways. You either give someone, and this is what I mean by Arteta and the similarities with myself. They don't end where I was talking just about, you know, like a highly thought of aspirational young coach with a sentimental attachment to a club that he used to play for, you know, and being blinded by arrogance and ambition. I think if he's going to go in and they think enough of him to give him the job. And someone said about it, it's not an entry-level job. Well, it's not entry-level for him because he was a coach at Everton, player coach at Everton, and he was a coach under supposedly one of the top 3 coaches in the world at Manchester City. So it's not as if he don't know what he's doing and what he's talking about. That's just like a naive throwaway comment. But he's got to have total control, or he's got to be side by side with someone with regards to having total control over all of the recruitment. And I don't think, in a nutshell, that's been the case with him. And I think he's suffering the consequences.
If that was the case, let's say that was the case for you, put yourself in his shoes, which I guess isn't too difficult to do, and you have a plan, you've got a blueprint, you've got an idea of how you want to play and the personnel you want to bring in, because it's clear, you know, with Unai Emery, there needed to be loads of players gone and loads of players being brought in. I mean, just as an example of bad recruitment, they've just released Willian on a free. He played 29 games. I mean, the bloke was doing well at Chelsea.
Well, yeah, it was a free when he came in. He couldn't negotiate a new deal at Chelsea very quickly, the background, because they don't give more than a 1-year deal to people over 30. And I think he was about 32. He wanted 2 years, right? So in fairness, I think he's shown great humility, and I think he's shown a great empathy, William, with what he's done. Supposedly, according to sources, he's agreed to rip up his contract, not ask for any settlement, and he's just signed for approaching 70% less than what he was on at Arsenal.
He's gone back to Brazil, I think, back to his old original club.
That's
that's
right.
Fair enough from him. Yeah, I suppose all I mean is
forget him. He was a free. Listen,
yeah,
380.
But the recruitment hasn't worked, has it? The recruitment hasn't worked.
That's an understatement.
That's an understatement. Right.
The total over the last three seasons, I think it's 3 and a bit seasons, 389 million.
So if you was in that situation, Arteta, and you didn't have the final say over recruitment, how long would you last there? Would you try and work within the regime, or would you say fuck this? If I don't have control over who I bring in to orchestrate and enact my blueprint, then I'm off. Or would you say, all right, well, it's my first job, I'll swallow it?
Well, that's what I did.
Yeah,
that's what I did. I mean, there was.
I think that's what he's doing.
There was all these balls in the air. I didn't know that the club was hemorrhaging 10 grand a week. You know what I mean? It's a bit different from Arsenal. They've got money to spend. You know what I mean? But the bottom line is you need total control over every aspect of the club. Otherwise, what you've got is you've got a situation that I was most certainly in, and I think proportionally the situation Arteta is in, which is you've got massive responsibility without power.
Yeah. Which
as opposed to a lot of managers.
Both worlds.
Of course it is. Of course it is. Without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, born of bitter experience, I would never do it. I would never do it again. I've got to have the final say on everything. You understand? Because if you're going to fall on your sword, or if you're going to get the chop from somebody else, it's got to be under your own steam.
Yeah, in your way. Yeah.
Your way and under circumstances, the thing. And then if you've done your background checks, you've done your own work on players, and they fit into the blueprint. I mean, at the other place where I was, it was just a case of certain playing criteria, work ethic, and age. Unfortunately, I inherited overpaid, underachieving mercenaries with no resale value. You know what I mean? So they were just there. They were using the club as an ATM in the twilight of their career, some of them. There were some very, very good top drawer, honest, fantastic guys and fantastic professionals there. But 7, maybe 8 weren't enough.
No.
You understand? And that's having trimmed the squad under the previous incumbent, Peter Eustace, 28, 29 down to 15, which we somehow managed to bump it up to 17. But out of the 17, 2 were goalkeepers. One was the co-manager. You understand? So I was literally at one time had 13 outfield players to increase ever so slightly to 15 outfield players. It's slightly different for Arteta, right? But the bottom line is he's got massive responsibility without power, it would seem. I think the culprits is, I don't know, I forgot the geezer's name, the Asian guy, the CEO type fella, and Edu. His track record's abysmal. If you look at all the signings, people are making cases for different people. I'm talking about, well, make your mind up. Is it a process or do you want overnight success? If it's overnight success, then I'm right. You understand? There's only Tierney who's been signed and hit the ground running, and he's Arsenal quality in terms of like athleticism, playing ability, and being like Arsenal always have been, very, very difficult to break down and play against. You understand what I mean? So when you look at all the other signings, they're like, and then you've got people going away, coating off the crowd. I think Guendouzi said like about where he's on loan at the moment, where he's gone at the moment. The crowd's so much more passionate, and I feel at home here, it's so much better than it was at Arsenal, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, he was a decent athlete, box to box. But other than that, no, I'm looking at Arsenal for years after years after years. They've been crying out for like dominant. I'm talking dominant. I'm not here to be fucked about. Do as I'm telling you. Either get them up or boss people to pick up. Centre back, right? Borderline, like very, very aggressive with it, like I was. Decent fullback on the right hand side. They've got a decent fullback on the left hand side. They've maybe got something to build on with the guy at the back in terms of size and athleticism, Jesus. I think that's his name, the centre back. The goalkeeper really.
You got Gabriel, haven't you?
That's who I meant.
Decent, yeah. Rob Holding. Yeah, because obviously Gabriel's Jesus. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, well, how many chances he had Holding? I mean, I can only think, I'll just say, look, from my experience, what you've got to do, the only way you're going to hit the ground running is if you approach it this way, and I'd advise him. I think there's like too many people surprised that they're there. And there's a reason there. I've been there, Joe, I've been there. You're like, whoa, you've earned it. Isn't it? Well, you've earned the right to be there, but then you're actually questioning, really, should I be here? But then when I break it down with the benefit of hindsight, I'm looking at it, I think to myself, Eddie Mack, he drew blood out of a slab of concrete when he was there, Eddie McCready at Chelsea, because all the big shots and all the big time Charlies and all the playboys, they were two bob. And then when you marry that to cheat, who can't get off the treatment table, basically injured for 2-3 years. You know what I mean? If it was now, you just say, you know what, I'll offer you a settlement. Just go, get him out of the building. Yeah. You understand? Yeah. The culture was rotten to the core at Chelsea Football Club when I was there, rotten to the core. And if I wanted to be really nasty, I set aside, and I'm thinking to myself, shall I, shan't I? Because it's churlish. But it's the truth, and it's like it might make people sit up and take notice, because I was thinking about it even back then. You understand what I mean? In terms of like the game, the club, the running of the club. Well, I see a lot of similarities now latter day at Arsenal. People are making decisions. This is who you've got to work with. Well, look, it's like I said, they go on about the centre forwards. Well, if you can get a game out of them, yeah. So normally they stand with their hands on there. Listen, when he first came, I'm telling you now, Go back to the first game that he came after he'd done a week's training with them, right? The centre forwards, whether it's Aubameyang or Lacazette, right? You look at them flying in, pressing, hunting the ball down, like a slightly overhit pass, not giving up the ghost, giving it up, right? Chasing it down, hunting the ball down, closing down the opposition back foot to pinch the ball back, right? Because a new manager's come in, new instruction, breath of fresh air, new regime, new way of playing. We're going to be on the front foot. We're going to press high up the field. We're going to pinch the ball back. Then all of a sudden, they go on the missing list. Well, why? That's not the manager, because he stuck to his beliefs. It's them who just like, you know what? Fuck this. This is our work. You know what I mean? Then you've got the midfield. Like I said, it's been screening out for a Kante. You understand? A screening midfield player with discipline. Not Xhaka going in 2-footed. Right, anyone can do that. That's a coward's tackle. That is anyway. Sure. And I've been up against it, and I've done it myself. Right, no creative midfield player. You're talking about a club that had the likes of Bergkamp, that had the likes of Liam Brady, You understand? Where's the killer pass going to come from? Where's the little bit of technique and the little bit of composure to thread a ball for someone who, like Henry with Bergkamp, run onto it, explode a bit of pace, bang, finish, top corner, Ian Wright, bang, finish. You know, we'll take him around the keeper and roll in an empty net. You know what I mean? There's none of these players there. What they've always been renowned for. So it's that mixture of organisation, steely determination, hard to break down, hard to play against, coupled with get the ball and then do something creative and have like a magnificent technician or a magnificent technician with unbelievable athleticism like Henry, who for my money has been one of the top 3 forwards in Premier League history. Where is he now? Where are they now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they've laid out well over £250 million and still can't find a winning formula.
Well, there's another interesting analogy and well, similarity, I guess, to your situation at Leyton Orient, where apparently they're filming the All or Nothing Amazon documentary at the moment at Arsenal. So he's got the cameras thrust in front of his face as well, which couldn't get any worse, could it?
No. Well,
as you know. So it's about, that's not going to be a very fun.
No, it's not
documentary,
no, because what'll happen is they'll the circumstances behind the situation will end up on the cutting room floor in the editorial suite, and what they'll just show something happening and like a forlorn look, someone staring into space, like they did with me, you know what I mean, or having a rant.
So
no, I had four rants, which worked out about one every 10 weeks for the time that I was there. Most of the time I was.
But they leave that in.
Yeah, I was heaping praise and encouragement and a lot of decent coaching. That was all left on the cutting room floor of the editorial suite, as well as the other 5 jobs. I mean, it's actually on Twitter tonight. Someone's piped up about the thing he'd done for me with regards to getting some boots for youth team players, because they got allocated one pair of boots and they was expected to pay for it out of their own money, and a couple of young pros. And there's a Leyton Orient supporter. He had a Sunday side, and he was one of 3 or 4 people who I turned to. And he took it out of his Sunday team's bank account to give to a professional football club, right? Get that? A Sunday team's bank account to give to a professional football club to buy boots for young professionals, because we never had any money.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
scandalous,
that's a fact.
Scandalous,
yeah, of course it's scandalous. It never happened again. I had 4 chairmen in 10 months. Plus an additional board of Marsh, Goldsmith, Linney and Weinrabe, who was one of the 4 chairmen that I had, because he was assistant chairman. And deputy chairman, while Tony Wood, the chairman, was in Rwanda trying to save his business from the Rwandan civil war. So you had Tony Wood, Derek Weinrabe, Phil Wallace, followed by Barry Earn. Well, out of them 4, the only one who put his hand in his pocket was Tony Wood, because certain players inspected their bank accounts and they never had their signing on fees paid to them and some of their wages. And then we had the PFA paying the wages for 8 months. So even the prospective new chairman coming in, one of them went on to do very well out of the club, Barry Earn, never put any money in. Now, and I'm ringing mates for an overnight stay at Stockport, because the coach company, Angel Motors, refused. I said it before, they refused to send a coach unless we settled their account in full. And from that moment onwards, we had to pay everything in advance. So I had to ring round mates, because it was like 3.5 hour journey. So I wanted them to have an overnight stay to prepare properly. Yeah. So I had to ring mates who are in business. So I said, we'll send you a check, we'll send you a bit of readies. And I managed to scrape together 1,200 quid so we can have an overnight stay and pay for the coach in advance, which is what the commercial manager should have been doing. So I ended up commercial manager as well, raising funds for the club. Yeah. So really, a lot of them, they don't know their bong. You know what I mean? I'd love to have his problems. But what they're saying, what about what goes on behind a the closed doors, that's just a little insight, Joe. But really and truly, I don't see how anything's going to change, because you're looking at the next 3 games, the likes of Norwich, Burnley and Spurs. And then you've got someone saying, oh, almost dismissively saying, well, they might struggle against Spurs. They might nick a point. I don't think so. I think Spurs and Burnley will be physically too intense, too imposing and too strong for them, and they'll be too organised for them. I don't think they'll win against Burnley or Spurs, and I think they might just about win, if not scrape a point against Norwich. So then what? Because what I said is, if it ain't in this international week, it will be by the end of October, he'll be gone, Arteta. And they're saying, well, who are you going to get? So I said, well, it ain't up to me, it's up to the club. I know you get who you want to get. When you're Arsenal, you get who you want to get. You understand? People were saying, who would you go for? They say, well, he's not available. You make sure you make him an offer he can't refuse. Simple as that. You're Arsenal Football Club. I don't care what I've said, Simeone. For me, he fits the old school Arsenal profile. You know what I mean? Because it's been a long time since 1-0 to the Arsenal. And it's even been shown and confirmed that I said about him being a myth, Wenger. All he did was common sense and what Malcolm Allison did 30 years before, with regards to diet and nutrition, physiology and anatomy, stretching programs, et cetera, then putting in place the same thing that Ferguson did at United, bringing through younger players, although he did it via his contacts in France and the French soccer school at Clairefontaine. But you can see from outer space what I said to you, ready-made goalkeeper and back 4 or back 5, if you want to count the extra defender in Keown, right? Screening midfield players, the likes of Ray Parlour, great athlete, and people like Petit Perez.
Right, that's a good goal scorer.
Yeah, but even him, he didn't quite. I don't think he quite knitted in with the culture that he wanted. He probably a little bit too thing. He wanted like one of these, like the badge says in Latin, victory through harmony. I think he probably a little bit too big a personality for him. So, but you can see from outer space, Vieira, Petit Perez, Henry, they're players. You can see from outer space they're players. So, you know, he ain't sort of got someone who was kicking a rag ball on the streets of somewhere in bare feet and turned him into a player from South America somewhere in Buenos Aires back streets. These players were like prime ready-made top draw players. But I just think, like, if you go back to the profile,
why would Simeone go there,
west?
Though? Yeah.
So what?
Why would Simeone go there? He'd be mental. He'd be mad, wouldn't he? Well, he's got a brilliant. He's onto a great thing at Athletic Madrid. He's beaten the hegemony.
Well, if I'm talking,
and Barcelona got.
If you, like, you're Simeone talking to me, you say, "Why would I go there?" And I just say, "Well, why wouldn't you?" It's just like it's one of the biggest. It's one of the and I want you to sort the nightmare out.
Yeah.
Right, it's one of the most iconic football clubs on the planet. Right. Forget the North London rivalry and what other people are going to say and And I've got an affinity because of '66 to West Ham. I played for Millwall and Chelsea. I was at Arsenal as a kid. I could have signed for 10 clubs. All right, I'm talking forensically in the cold light of day for when I was standing on the North Bank with my dad. Way back when the history, it's one of the most iconic clubs on the planet. And if you say it's a mess, you say, yeah, well, that's why I've come for you. I want you to help me sort the mess out. Yeah, he's about as good a technical director or recruiter as he was a player, because I don't remember him really as a player other than like the odd sub appearance and maybe a couple of good idings I dished out to the likes of Middlesbrough. So what? It's Middlesbrough.
Yeah, is it the back end of Wenger's dominance, really, when it was injured quite a lot as well?
Yeah, but you look at both legacies, and to me the argument falls down. I mean, you hear Ferguson say, because I said about it's about what you leave behind, and he left behind an aging, deteriorating squad, and he said, well, we won the league by 11 points. Oh, he ain't telling me nothing other than the fact that you basically were the best of a shit league. Because if you look at the Premier League, the year they won it by 11 points, everybody was beating everybody else, and you know, the couple of standout and another reason you did it, you had to call Paul Scholes out of retirement. You understand what I mean? All that tells me is how bad the rest of the league were.
Yeah.
If he won it now, you say you know what I mean. But I just think it's a bit of a futile argument. I honestly believe. If you study it in the cold light of day, I just think like either legacy, but particularly the one at Arsenal. I mean, when the manager coming after Wenger, he had straight away a £1.2 million a month problem to solve, which was Ozil. You know, flat track bully. Do well against Stoke and Norwich and West Brom, but go on the missing list against Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea, Tottenham, West Ham. They went on the missing list. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Just moving on quickly to another London club, but we spoke about in the last podcast in terms of predictions. Liverpool, Chelsea, 1-1. Obviously, Chelsea got a man sent off, and Liverpool equalised, but struggled with the penalty, obviously, and then struggled to break Chelsea down. What was your assessment of the game, and who do you think, given it was the battle of the big guns, two favourites for the league or contenders for the league, who do you think come out on top, even though it's 1-1?
Well, in terms of moral victory, without a doubt, Chelsea. I mean, they've even surprised me. I mean, I might have to rethink things ever so slightly. I just think that they're probably the biggest threat to my prediction of Man United. And you know, I've just gone random Man United because I just think they've got like more. If they're firing on all cylinders and it's organised right, I just think more firepower from a lot of different areas of the football field. And then that's been added to with the confirmation of the signing today of Ronaldo, if he delivers.
Do you think he will?
But sticking to liver.
Just quickly, do you think?
I think he will. Yeah, I think he will. Yeah. What it is now, he's a much more mature player. He's been around the world twice, or around Europe a couple of times. He's done the Madrid thing, started United, done the Madrid thing, done the Juventus thing, and I just think now he can be, if he's handled right, he can be a positive influence in the dressing room, and I just think his habits will be second to none. And I think if he could see someone, what it is he worked before, I think he possibly wanted to be the limelight centre of attention, which his ability fully deserved. But I just think now, if he's got a new maturity about him, he will lay stuff on a plate for other people. So I just think but again, it could be one extreme or the other. You know, it could be a massive plus, or it could upset the apple cart, because you've got primarily a youngster.
Sorry, do you think they'll play him centre forward, number 9 position?
No, I don't. No, he might. I mean, he might do. If he does, I think it'd be a mistake. If you're going to play him up the middle, play him as a false 9. Let him drift where he wants. If not, I'd think there's a vacancy wide. You know what I mean? But he might be one of them where he'll play 3 close together. You know what I mean? So he'll come in off, make angled runs off the front man, or come in and rotate with the front man and become the front man. Or be the furthest, if he's furthest from the ball, one of the ones that help flood the box. The type of thing you rehearse with shadow play, really. And then when you've done it shadow play, you have a game against the kids or the reserves, and to make sure that it's passive opposition ish, you know, where they're a bit quicker and a bit stronger. But you're basically just going through the shape and the runs that you would make, and where you'd receive the ball, where you'd set the ball off during the course of a fully blown Premier League game.
Interesting,
yeah. I mean, the going back to the Liverpool Chelsea thing, I thought the sending off was a little bit harsh, but really by the letter of the law, he's got to go. But then you look at him having a scream up. I just said something. Never mind. You know what I mean? You know, Klopp a bit lame. Why would you just say, you know what, they had 10 men, you know, credit where it's due, they held on. They were hanging on at the end, credit where it's due, they managed to hold on. They held on. Don't like all this, they started off with 5 at the back, and but at least the fullbacks were pushing on when they had 11 men. Then when they got the guys to send off, they just settled for 5 at the back, and then another 4 in front of them. We couldn't break it down. Well, it's your job to break it down. What you've got to do, you've got to have the players with a nous, right, to pull the fullbacks in. So you go narrow, wide, narrow, wide, narrow, wide. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So you change your shape to affect them. And if he ain't done that, or they're not capable of doing that, well, it's their problem. You see that today. He signed a deal until 2025, up until he's 35, Jordan Henderson.
They're just keeping everyone. Everyone's Allison's re-signed a deal. Van Dijk's re-signed a deal. It's just basically keeping everyone he's got. Not
Good
really
players and
bringing
good
anyone
pros,
else.
though. But yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
good business, isn't it? They're good. They're all good players, good lads, good pros.
Yeah,
you can see
and
what.
Henderson's got a lot better. I mean, if he had value when he comes back, you realise how
Yeah.
much they're missing. But I just want
Yeah.
a quick one on Liverpool. When we talk about
Not
Chelsea
like
as
some
well.
of the shit I played for, you know what I mean? Who didn't reward loyalty and didn't reward training and match performance. They shit on me from a great eye and they expected me to say thanks for the cap. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's what you do. That is, for my money, that's different class from the club and it's different class from the management. You reward good performance in training and games and good and loyalty. And they're good lads, good pros.
Yeah, James Milner as well. You know, he's still there. He's still being involved. So yeah, it just shows you. It's like I say, good personalities to have about, isn't it? Just on that though, with the good personalities and the top pros they've got, he started that young Elliott. Was only 18, centre midfield. Everyone said he played well, and he did, and he looks like he's going to be a player. But it's I would suggest a bit worrying that you're starting an 18-year-old in centre midfield against your title contenders and biggest challengers at home.
Maybe he's resting them. Maybe they're carrying a niggle. Maybe it's reward. There's nothing wrong with any of them. But I was a bit facetious last time, Joe, and I'm gonna hold my hands up and let everyone in on a little secret. It was him that I was talking about. We're going like overboard now because someone could control and pass the ball and punch it in with a bit of pace and tempo and follow the pass to clear the space for the fullback. Do me a favour. We're praising young pros who could control and pass the ball now. Let's wait and see, eh?
Exactly. He's got to show it. I mean, he managed it all right, but didn't really affect the game for me. And in that, you know more than me again, but that high level, elite level, which it was an elite level game. It was very, very good. You know, dynamism about the game,
tempo
and tempo, yeah. But it's that little tiny little difference, isn't it, that decides whether a goal goes in or whether a chance is created, and you've got to be absolutely on it. And
I think it's because he made a goal in the game before. But I just think like I said, what we're doing. We're heaping praise on someone that can control and pass the ball now.
Yeah.
You know, just steady. You know, I mean, let's have a little look, wait and see.
Kai Havertz scored a great goal. How good's Kai Havertz? How good can he be? Everyone's saying I think Neville said he's on his third gear, but he's got fourth gear and he's got a fifth gear. How does he know he's got more gears just because he's going through the motions? Does that mean he's going to be a good player, top player?
I think he's got to do a tremendous amount more. He's had games where he's been like the star of the show. I think what springs to mind is maybe the cup semi-final when he notched against City. But we know through his international thing, he's capable a lot more. It's all about. It's like anything. It's about doing it on a consistent basis. It's what you're saying about that elite level. What separates the true elite from also Rands is the ones that do it week in, week out on a massively not just a superb level, but like on a massive level of consistency. You know, that other people can only dream about. So pulling it out every week, you know what I mean? I don't see all that like third, fourth, fifth gear and all that. I think it's the type of game where if you weren't playing at your optimum level, you'd get against Liverpool, you'd get squashed.
You get found out. Yeah.
I've had it myself. It makes you run a yard faster for sure. I had it myself at home at Stamford Bridge, 44,000. You go out and people expecting you to fall flat on your face. But I knew I'd be all right because I'd had a decent education. Probably one of the best coaching systems in Europe at the time. Initially, Dave Sexton and Dario Gradi, Ken Shilato, Eddie McCready, these type of people. They knew football inside out, upside down. And not only that, they could articulate it. And the sessions were fun. I knew I'd be all right because I've been taught the basics really well. Then the rest is about using your nut and basically decision made. People go on about me micromanaging throughout my life and as a manager at thing. It's not. It's just being on the ball.
Yeah.
You're only micromanaging certain situations, or what's perceived as micromanaging, because someone else hasn't taken care of their part of it. That's why you end up micromanaging.
Yeah.
I can delegate. I'd love to sit there with a big, like, fat Cuban and a Havana club and let everyone else get on with it. But you find yourself in environments where it's not the case, and you have to watch it every single move. Everybody's every single move.
Yeah. All right, John. Well, that was a good little chat. I think obviously it's the international break now. I don't know when England.
Bit disappointed with West Ham. Disappointed. Very, very quickly. I mean, the Spurs. We said Spurs. You asked me my dark horses who might surprise a few people.
Yeah.
So far, so good. Spurs played 3-1-3, 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, 3 clean sheets. Harry staying at least for the foreseeable future. So it all bodes well. And I think it could surprise a few people. So look, you've got serial winners like Jose Mourinho, right? And it's in certain people. And I could see it was in him. And I could see when he was in my cabin, we were arguing a point. You understand? You could see where certain people would be abrasive.
Yeah.
Like I've been. I admit to it. You understand?
Yeah.
And then you could see people who, like Nuno, he's got, like, I think, yet again, he gave all the praise to the players. He heaped praise on the players, and he's got a softness about him. You understand? And I think it could surprise her. I think, like, for sure nailed on to get to one of the cup finals, FA Cup or League Cup. But like I said, might surprise a few people in the league. West Ham, very quickly, what I was disappointed with them is their game management. See, it's all very well getting them organised. It's all very well getting them good shape. It's all getting like the repetition. And we spoke about Antonio, gave him unbelievable credit, and his goal yet again was fantastic. And if he was a foreigner, he got like a lot more praise for it. It would have been highlighted more, just the sheer pace and power. And I think he's weak of foot, if my memory serves me right. But then what's got to happen is, right, Joe, and supporters might not like it, but tough shit, you're there. I remember being invited by my mate Adrian up in Nottingham. He had Club England tickets, and we went to England, Czechoslovakia. But the one that struck me even more was there was Chelsea Manchester City League Cup final. So I'm going back a couple of years, and Chelsea were having an unbelievable purple patch, 20 minutes, where City couldn't get the ball off them, and they were creating chance after chance after chance when they were more direct. But when they were being more and more intricate, City just cheated. They just kept stopping the game. What he used to say, Easting, if it looks like we're going to get done sits, stop the game.
Yeah.
And I passed it on to my young centre-backs. And I think it's a reasonable, viable, tangible tactic of game management. What West Ham should have done is flown in, and then the first man, they took the lead 2-1 against Crystal Palace, right? And, there's only a matter of a couple of minutes to go. Fly in, and it don't matter, just smash someone. Free kick.
Just slack down, yeah.
Right, so now 2 things. If they spot it and play the ball quickly, okay, that probably plays into your hands a little bit because you're flying again and smash someone. So what I'm saying is, it's a little bit sensationalist to say smash them, maybe. Give away like tactical foul.
Yeah,
Sorry, ref.
Yeah.
Just an obstruction, even.
Yeah.
Stop the game.
Yeah.
Like the other thing is, which I happen to believe,
don't
it is, yeah, but you're doing it in their half. You're doing it more so than the one that's clean through and he's only got to keep it a beat and you take his legs away, which is a guaranteed red card. You take the subtle. So this is where their game management's got to improve if they want to do anything.
Yeah.
I think they let themselves down to even allow them to get into their half and get down West Ham's right, Crystal Palace's left, and have the little mazy and then do the thing. And then the geezer's come in and he's finished it, the blonde kid. Right, it should never have got that far. The other thing is, if they know there's only a minute to go, right, and this has always been my belief, it always will be my belief, and it will never change. If there's a minute to go and the opposition, I don't care if it's the first minute or the last minute, if the opposition get a free kick and you know they're going to launch it into your box, you should never concede a goal from a free kick or a corner. But unfortunately, it's always the case, or it seems to more or less often be the case. I'll tell you for why. You've got time to set up, you've got time to boss, you've got time to get organised, you've got time to hold a line, you've got time to to delay. You could see the ball coming in, and then it's all about your attitude and application of the keys, which is assess the flight, communicate, attack the ball, and deal with it. So assess, decide, communicate, and then deal with it.
Yeah.
Right. So you should know. So if you've got all your thing and you're a good pro and you're playing to the 95th, 96th, 97th minute, you shouldn't get done. So it don't matter. You give a free kick away, stop the game. Give a free kick away, stop the game. Give away, and that's where West Ham, I thought, were very, very naive. And it's what's separated them over the years, stopped them from being winners.
Yeah, and he actually, in his interview, Moyes, he wasn't critical of the team at all. He just said, I thought we were very expansive. We created a lot of chances. We just didn't put in the same performance as we did against Leicester. So whether he just says that outwardly and then inwardly, he hopefully says, he needs to be a bit more professional in terms of, because that was a big opportunity. That Palace ain't a great side, and for them to concede 2 goals at home is not ideal, is it? Really? I know they brought in your man Zuma, haven't they? I think they bought Zuma from.
Well, we know they're trying to buy a day for 30 million. Edouard from Celtic. For 30 million. They're trying to bring him in. So I mean, and that's the other thing. Celtic, they're selling off all the family silver, aren't they? So I don't know where that's going to leave them in the Scottish Premiership.
Well, they lost to Rangers at the weekend, didn't
they? Yeah. So it looks like they're all deserting a sinking ship, really, unless there's I don't know whether there's going to be some sort of rebuilding thing up there. But probably the most priceless commodity in the game, and they're selling it for 30 million. Bit of pace and goals.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah. But I mean, they maybe had a bit of a Brighton had a bit of a wake up call, bit of a reality check. Another clean sheet for Everton. It's a good win away at home. So it was good. It was a good weekend. Good weekend's football.
Yeah, it's a bit more predictable, wasn't it? Villa Brentford 1-1, probably a fair result. Leicester squeaked 2-1 away at Norwich. Leicester seem to be sounds harsh to say struggling because they won, but not firing on all cylinders for sure. Newcastle, Southampton 2-2. I think they're relegation fodder, them two. Yeah. So
he's had no ready to suspend, has he, Brucey?
No.
They want him out. No Nelsons. No, they've given him no Nelsons to get players in.
Burnley drew 1-1 with Leeds. I would say two teams that are more than safe. Leeds have just signed James, didn't they, from Man United? 30 mil. Good signing for them.
He's so lucky there, Dice. You make your own luck, but because he's obviously done his own work. But to bounce back from what went on the week before, he's just got a lot of strength and a power of physicality, resilience about him, haven't they? You know what I mean? So I think it might surprise a few people because I'll tell you, if Arsenal were not at it, well, all this about they'll be almost dismissive of Burnley and Norwich, and might get something against Spurs. If they're not at it, no chance. And it's like I said, you know where you are around about October. So I think if it ain't done this week, I don't even think Arteta's got till Christmas. What'll be happening upstairs that they'll actively be looking, maybe for who's going to take his place. I don't think it was ever clear, going back to the Arsenal thing, Joe, very quickly, I don't think it was ever really clearly defined whether he was there as a manager or a head coach.
Yeah.
There was a bit of a confusion about it. And then they sort of actually came out publicly and said that they confirmed that he's the manager. Well, if he's the manager, then I'm looking at the under. Well, I'm looking at the people around him, and I mean, how big he's got staff. It was like the United Nations sitting behind him in the seats. Yeah. What are they doing for their money? You know,
well, it's going to be an interesting international break, and maybe it'll settle it down. You know, maybe a few new faces coming in. It might change, but I think that's, like you say, that's the litmus test, isn't it? Really, after the international break, and they've got 3 or 4 games to, I can save their season. You know, 3 games, but they're rock bottom.
But it confirms what I've always said about fate. I mean, how lucky is he? The fact that there's, it depends if they sack him and use the international break to sack him. But how lucky is he? The fact that there's an international break just after that performance.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
A whole week for the plus for the dust to settle and everyone to calm down.
Yeah, And a bit of change as well. You know, a few players out the door.
They can't get them out the door. That's the problem.
Mm.
You know, they've dug their orders in over Maitland-Niles, Willock. There was the thing, wasn't there, about the fee, and then what's happened. Then there's all these fringe players they want out the door. They've already offloaded a load of, in terms of loan and letting club players go back to France, etc. A lot of them, they can't unload them, I should imagine, because they're on fat contracts there, and the asking price is, you know, they've got to get it in their nut about the fact that with 17 months, everyone's been locked away. There's been no income. Listen, if Real Madrid and Barcelona are struggling, where does that leave the rest of us?
They've only been bailed out by their governments for the last 100 years.
Yeah.
The Catalonian government and the Spanish government. Yeah. Anyway, we could talk all night, John. Let's do one next week after a couple of England games. I think they're terrible England games, haven't they? In terms of, I don't know who we got.
Hungary.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah. That's the first one, isn't it? And it's funny, we said, no, we was talking back very quickly, you know, we're talking back Euros, who goes, who stays, who was left out. And it's funny how they've given him a call up Bamford.
Yeah.
He was one of the ones we said, like, maybe the same but different in terms of like the Harry Kane aspects, you know, like a foil, like a focal point, someone who can handle his first touch and also be a threat in and around the box. Yeah, it's funny.
It is funny. But yeah, we'll do one after a couple of those games.
You never know. Every now and again, we might know what we're talking about. You never know.
We need to get a little drum kit on those ones. Maybe we will when we get a bit more money coming in. With all these followers you're getting, John.
Oh, that's good.
Which is great.
You know, I'm delighted they're spreading the word. There's people. Not only that, Joe. When they've watched the back catalogue, the feedback's been phenomenal.
Yeah.
And they've praised you. They've praised both of us.
No, it's been fantastic. The comments have been absolutely superb, and you know, I can't say appreciate it so much. I know you comment a lot on YouTube. I haven't got an account. I've only got a Wave one. But yeah, it's been superb, and it's been a pleasure to be a part of it. And you know, the kind messages of keep going, and people want to hear it, which is great. So you know, all we can do is keep doing it, John, and just that's it, really, isn't it?
Hopefully, something transpires. Yeah.
Exactly.
I always thank them on behalf of both of us.
No, I know you do.
So you know that, and and then send them a comment back, and it's just nice to and just. I'll go on the record now and just like thank the people that have subscribed and the ones that follow us and take the time and trouble to pass a comment and watch.
Well, that's why we do it, and but you know that's why you do it. You know that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's about, it's about education. This is your mode.
Just a different thing. Yeah. If we're just like one, like I said, like even if it's one per episode, we'll just give a little slant, a new perspective on something on the goings on. Because what'll happen is, right, if you look at very quickly with the Arsenal thing, I don't see how, if he's got a plain blueprint, I don't see how things are going to change. You know, you can look at all this, all the cliches like plan A, plan B, and all this malarkey. You understand? But if they're not getting the basics right, he could go and he can. If the will is not there in terms of the players, he can drill them to kingdom come. Until Armageddon, it's still not going to come. It's still not going to come right. There's still going to be a stink coming off the pond. There's still going to be that toxicity. You've got to be willing to roll your sleeves up and just do the basics. And get the basics right. I don't see him doing being anything other than professional behind the scenes. But then again, I don't see how he can do anything that different to what he's done. If he's got a fixed blueprint in his head, then obviously the players they're brought in they're not meeting the criteria.
If you say it's. We shall see what happens over the international break, and I think he's probably only got three games you mentioned to save his season, save his job. He loses those three, he's out, isn't he? Even if he gets 1 point out of them.
I said international week or by the end of October. Well, you know where you are by the end of October in terms of who you've played and roughly the thing. That's everybody, okay? But specifically where Arteta is concerned, I don't like to see it done to anybody. I don't like to see it done under the circumstances under which he seems to be working. And I can read the veiled messages that he puts out now and again. But I've said if it's not this week, it will be by the end of October. Because I think the next 3 games, especially the North London derby, it can win a few brownie points and regain some kudos from that. Turn it around a little bit.
Yeah.
But then it begs the question, Joe. Well, what's been going on? I would say to you as a player, well, how comes you've raised your game for North London derby? You've let yourself down, the club down against Burnley and Norwich and Manchester City, and I mean, I think over the 3 games, it's what's it work out? It's an average of 3 goals a game. They've conceded an average of 3 goals a game.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's players playing for themselves, isn't it? It's players playing for contracts. It's players playing for trying to be in a shop window, or to me, it suggests a disconnect between the manager and the players. If that happens, I mean, Hazard did it at Chelsea. I mean, I thought it was a disgrace. He had 6 or 7 games where he didn't do a tap, and then he turned up to stop Spurs winning the league. That's the battle of Stamford Bridge.
Yeah,
one of the best players in the world. But for like 6, 7 games before, they didn't do nothing.
Down tools, yeah.
Yeah, so it does. Yeah. But look at him now. He's walking around 2 stone overweight, can't get in the Real Madrid team. He has done for 2 or 3 years. So that's the mentality, isn't it?
Yeah, all that paella.
All them Belgian Fritz avec mayonnaise. Right, John.
All right, mate. Thanks again for your time.
No problem, mate. And thanks. Good chat. And let's do it. Let's do another one next week. But let's see after a couple of England games.
Yeah, let's see how we go.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching.
Thank you, everyone.
Follow, subscribe, share, retweet, send us in questions. We're not getting many questions recently, so please do, fire them in, because I have to keep remembering. I have to keep making questions up. So any help is greatly received.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We welcome any questions.
Yeah,
for sure we do. Yeah.
All right, guys. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.